What's going on right now in the US isn't unique. This story has been replayed throughout history over and over again. The problem is, most of us don't stop to look for the parallels. And let me tell you, when nations ignore those parallels, it usually doesn't end very well. Right now, we're sleepwalking as our political system erodes, as money is funneled everywhere, but where it could actually help the American people. Sleepwalking while trust in our government and in the American people themselves sinks to an all-time low around the world. The war in Iran has magnified all of this. It's put our dysfunction out on the global stage for everyone to see. And history has already shown us what happens when credibility collapses, division deepens, and when truth itself becomes unstable. So the question isn't whether history has the answers. It definitely does. The question is whether we're willing to listen or whether we'll keep sleepwalking right into the same fate that swallowed so many nations before us. First, look at where the money goes. Billions spent abroad. Billions poured into wars that nobody wants. While at home, schools go unfunded. Healthcare remains broken. The wealth gap in America has grown wider than ever. And history shows us what happens when that gap becomes unbearable. Think about before the French Revolution. The elites lived in luxury while ordinary people struggled to survive. Bread prices soared, wages stagnated, and the government kept funneling resources into war and royal extravagance. Sounds a little familiar. The people saw it, they felt it, and eventually they rose up. The French Revolution wasn't just about politics. It was about survival. When the gap between the rich and the poor grows too wide, society itself begins to fracture. And once that fracture breaks open, change comes, whether peacefully or violently. So ask yourself, what happens when people see wealth concentrated at the top while their own lives get harder? What happens when they realize the system isn't built for them anymore? History has already answered that question. Credibility isn't just about what your government says. It's about how the world sees your actions. And history shows us that once allies and the public opinion turn, they don't just walk away, they actually turn against you. Look, for instance, at Israel. For decades, it had strong global support. Many nations saw it as a partner, even a symbol of resilience. But in just a few years, that perception has completely shifted. Actions in Gaza, the treatment of the Palestinians, and the endless cycle of violence, suddenly the majority of the world wasn't standing with Israel anymore. Public opinion flipped. Nations that once defended Israel began condemning it. Protests erupted worldwide, as we saw, and Israel went from being seen as a victim to being seen as an aggressor. That's how fast credibility can collapse. The lesson is clear. When a nation ignores global opinion, when it acts as if allies will always follow no matter what, it risks isolation. And isolation is the first step towards decline. America should take notes because the same shift is already happening to us. And finally, let's remember how America itself was born. The Revolutionary War wasn't just about taxes. It was also about credibility. Britain funneled money into the empire, dismissed the needs of colonists, and ignored their demand for representation. The gap between what leaders said and what people experienced grew too wide, exactly like what is happening right now. Credibility collapsed, and when leaders refused to listen, the people acted. They didn't just protest, they broke away entirely. That's how the United States was born, out of a credibility crisis, out of leaders who refused to listen. The irony is that now, centuries later, America risks repeating the same mistake. But this time, it's America itself that could lose trust. History shows us repeatedly that when leaders ignore the people, action follows. Whether protest, reform, or unity, silence is not an option. The Revolutionary War reminds us that when credibility collapses, the people must act. The question is whether we'll act before it's too late. Iran is a wake-up call. The circus at home is a wake-up call. History is shouting at us. Credibility, inequality, global trust. These are the foundations of power. Lose them, and you lose everything. We've seen each story before. France, Israel, even America's own revolution. Each shows us that collapse comes from within. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much.